Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Meralco Power Up Live, energizing growth opportunities. Meralco Power Up Live is a webinar series which aims to empower businesses with power demand below 500 kilowatts through energy services and solutions. Hi, everybody. My name is Andre Con. I'll be your host for this afternoon's program. So just recently, I know you guys know this already, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or the NGCP, has been placing Luzon in forced outages, like red and yellow alerts due to power plants on forced outages are running on lower capacities. So let me explain to you guys. A yellow alert is issued when the operating margin is not enough to meet transmission grid's contingency requirements. On the other hand, a red alert is issued when it cannot meet the consumer demand in the transmission grid's regulating requirement. So in layman's terms, so it's something for something you guys, if you guys didn't understand that, in layman's terms, a yellow alert means low power supply, a red alert means insufficient power supply. So for today's session, our speaker from the Department of Energy will update us on the power supply outlook and will help us understand the causes and impact of these red and yellow alerts and how we can help manage the power supply deficit. So on top of these power alerts, we are also dealing with extreme heat. I know you guys are all feeling the heat here in the Philippines, which will certainly lead to a corresponding surge in your monthly bill since power consumption historically increases by 16 to 28% during the hot summer months. So our experts from Meralco will help you understand the charge changes or the charges in your bill, and together with a representative from MServe, they will share tips and solutions on how you can manage your consumption. So rest assured that you can always count on Meralco and its partners to help your business operate more efficiently. So before we start with or we proceed with today's presentations, I just want to check how you guys are doing. So literally, let's do a temperature check. Can you type, guys? Can you guys type in the chat box? I know a lot of you guys are here saying good afternoon. Can you guys type in the chat box? What's the temperature in your location right now? And if you can actually type in where you are right now, can you type it in? I can see you guys. 37.5 in Manila. Bulacan, 100 degrees. Wow. Parañaque, 36. Makati, 36C. Some are 41, 45. Dipolog. Santa Rosa, 34. See, that's very hot. Grabe. So far, Caloocan is the hottest I've seen, 42. Tarlac also, oh, Novaliches, 44. Wow. So 44 is our highest. Meron bang mas mataas? 36 but feels like 46. Totoo yun. Parang 35 pero feels like you're in a volcano, no? Parang gano'n kainit minsan sa atin dito sa Manila. So far, pinakamataas, Quezon. I know Quezon is always hot, 46 degrees. Los Baños is at a cool 27. Bulacan, 46. All right, so let's move on. I have another question for you guys. Given the temperature in your location, kamusta naman yung aircon nyo? I know you guys are using aircon. What are you guys using? Like, what's your thermostat setting of your aircon? Like, for me right now in my aircon, I'm on 16. That's the coldest. Tapos parang fastest fan ako. I think third level yung fan ko. Naka 3 siya. So, let me see. At mainit pa rin siya. As in, I think I still feel hot at times. All right, so there you go. See, a lot of people are using talaga to the max their aircons. So guys, thank you for participating in that quick Q&A. I hope that you will stay tuned and remain engaged throughout the webinar. So if you have any comments or questions about the presentations, go ahead, don't be shy. Do what you're doing right now. Please write it in the Q&A tab so that we can address these during our panel discussion later on. Should you have any account-related concerns, you may send your message through the link that we will send in our chat box. Okay? And to add fun to our Power Up Live session, as in our past editions, I know you guys know this, we'll be playing a trivia challenge. Just make sure to listen attentively so that you can answer the questions at the end of each presentation. Okay? Our lucky winners will receive special prizes from Meralco. So with that, let's get this webinar officially started. I know you guys are all ready. To formally welcome everyone to today's Meralco Power Up Live webinar, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the Assistant Vice President and Head of Meralco Biz, Engineer Roberto Gala.
Thank you, Andre. A pleasant afternoon to everyone. I'm happy to see all of you taking part in today's Power Up Live webinar. On behalf of Meralco Biz, I welcome you all to this webinar on the power supply outlook and energy solutions for efficient consumption and bill management. We have been hosting the Power Up Live webinar series to provide you, our business customers, with industry updates and tailor-fit energy services and solutions that's relevant to your business operations. For today's webinar, our distinguished speaker, Director Irma Exconde from the DOE, will be discussing the power supply forecast and initiatives being implemented to ensure efficient supply. And because the intense heat has been driving your businesses to use cooling systems for longer periods of time, which will definitely impact your bill, speakers from Meralco and its subsidiary MServe will help you understand the charges in your bill and will share measures to help you efficiently manage your electricity consumption. We hope our presentations this afternoon will be relevant and beneficial to all of you. Rest assured that Meralco will keep on hosting meaningful and dynamic conversations with you through this Power Up Live webinar series, not just to manage your consumption this summer, but all year round. Again, magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat.
Thank you very much, Sir Obet, and we're so excited to learn more about our Meralco bill and especially how to try to be more power efficient, not just, again, as you said, not just this summer, but also throughout the year. So right now, guys, let us call in our guest speaker for today, who will be giving us an update on the power supply outlook. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome the Director of the Electric Power Industry Management Bureau of the Department of Energy, Director Irma C. Exconde.
Yeah, good afternoon to all the participants of this Power Up Live webinar on power supply and demand outlook and energy efficiency solutions applicable to business. We truly appreciate the attendance of the decision makers and key representatives from the micro, small, and medium-scale businesses in the Meralco franchise area. We are all aware of how critical electricity in our everyday life, and since almost everything are powered by electricity. For this afternoon, I will provide updates on two items. Latest Philippine Energy Plan 2023 to 2050, including the contingency, and the second one is weekly power situation and outlook for 2024, including the contingency measures, particularly during period of tight power supply due to high demand resulting from the high temperature and heat index in this El Nino year. Okay, so let's start with the Philippine Energy Plan, or PEP strategic framework. The national government's strategic direction is anchored on the national government's Ambition 2040 and 8-point agenda, economic agenda of this administration, with a focus on protecting family purchasing power and creating job opportunities. Correspondingly, the energy sector strategic framework is coined ARC. A for access to affordable energy, R for reliability and resiliency, and C for clean and sustainable energy. The DOE policies and power outlook are geared towards this direction. And for this afternoon, we will not discuss the energy sectoral roadmaps contained in the PEP, but will focus on the long-term and short-term power outlook. So we go to the long-term power outlook for 2023 to 2050. I would like to highlight, as part of the Philippine Energy Plan 2023 to 2050, the long-term power outlook, which include the following scenarios. First is the reference scenario, which assumes the renewable energy share of 35% in the power generation mix by 2023 and then 50% share from 2040 to 2050. The second scenario is what we call high renewable energy scenario with low offshore wind plus nuclear plus coal repurposing, or simply the clean energy scenario 1, which targets more than 50% renewable energy share by 2050 and incorporates capacities from nuclear and then 19 gigawatt additional capacity from offshore wind and the repurposing of coal facilities. The third one is the high renewable energy with high offshore wind plus nuclear again plus coal repurposing, which we simply call clean energy scenario 2, which assumes significant expansions for a 50 gigawatt increase in offshore wind capacity. Okay, next slide. We go to the resulting 2023 to 2050 power supply outlook for the Luzon region. But before we discuss the specific numbers, let me orient you first on the legends used in this graph. So the red line corresponds to the total peak demand for the Luzon from 2023 up to 2050. And the black dashed line corresponds to the minimum reserve margin, which is the summation of the 4% of the peak demand and the first and second largest generating unit in the grid. Dark gray bars represent the existing capacity. The other colored bars on top of the dark gray correspond to the additional capacities or new capacity built, which were part of the results of the simulations. For the reference scenario in Luzon, the installed capacity should increase by about 4 times from 19,746 megawatts in 2022 to 80,781 megawatts in 2050. This includes the existing, committed, and new build capacities. Likewise, battery energy storage system should also increase from 72 megawatts to 2,348 megawatts by 2050 to support the stability of the grid, considering the large capacity from variable renewable energy such as wind and solar. Let me just show you the side-by-side comparison of the 3 scenarios in terms of the new build capacities, meaning these are the capacities needed in the Luzon grid per type of technology up to 2050 with interval of 5 years. To support the increasing electricity demand and to achieve the objective of this scenario, the Luzon grid will be needing 43,540 megawatts new build renewable energy capacity on top of the existing plants and committed projects for the reference scenario. And then for clean energy scenario 1 or low OSW scenario, the Luzon grid will be needing 66,806 megawatts new build renewable energy capacity on top of existing plants and committed plants or committed projects rather. The simulation of clean energy scenario 1 has also resulted in an additional 11,846 battery energy storage system to provide support and stability in the power system. And lastly, for the third scenario, which is clean energy scenario 2, the Luzon grid will be needing 85,070 megawatts new build renewable energy capacity on top of existing plants and committed projects. Additional 14,211 megawatts of battery energy storage system will be needed. Okay, next slide, please. So we go now to the second part, which is the short-term power outlook for Luzon for 2024. But again, before that, let me orient or refresh you with the basic concepts such as the 24-hour load profile and alert notices, which are relevant as we discuss the short-term power outlook and contingency measures. So the 24-hour load profile is a representation of how we better understand the contribution of each type of customer, like residential, commercial, and industrial, to the total demand in the power system. And this varies depending on the usage of the different customers, the temperature, and whether it's weekday, weekends, or holiday. The red line here, as shown on the screen, is the hourly demand, meaning the aggregation of demand of all electricity consumers in the grid. And then the highest of which is what we call the peak demand for the day. For Luzon, the peak demand occurs at 2 p.m. So most of the alert notices starts at 2 p.m. And then let's see what contributes to the increase and decrease in the total demand for each hour. Those industries which operates on a 24/7, like BPOs and manufacturing, they cover the base demand, while offices, malls, and households activities contribute to the ups and downs in the demand. And the more flat the load profile, the more efficient it is, and more efficient it is in the power system, and the cost will be less for each of the consumers. Okay, so that's the load profile, which is relevant for the especially on the programs on the peak program of Meralco. So next slide, this is just to show the daily monitoring being done by the DOE in terms of the correlation of the peak demand vis-a-vis temperature and heat index. So the red line shows the temperature, daily temperature since January of this year. So we see that it is increasing. And then the light green is heat index, which is much higher than the temperature. The blue line, actual peak demand for the day. And then the green line, forecasted peak demand for the week. Basically, this trend shows that the higher the temperature or heat index, the higher the actual peak demand. But this correlation only considered the normal business operations. We know that which excluded the weekends and holidays. We know that peak demand production is based on several factors or parameters. But for quicker reference, in line with the monitoring of El Nino phenomenon vis-a-vis the peak demand of the region, we stick to the daily monitoring of these parameters being issued by the PAGASA. The charts here shows that the heat index has been reaching 40 degrees, as shown also in the feedback of our participants this afternoon, up to 40 degrees and above level in the last 2 weeks. And correspondingly, the peak demand likewise increasingly fast and already reached the forecast for the same week, which is 8% higher than the same week last year. Okay, so we now go to the alert notices. So we hear this in the news or in the various reports that we have on power situation. So shown on screen is the representation. And it's also, the bar here shows the peak demand and the reserve requirement composed of regulating reserve, which is 4% of the peak demand. As mentioned earlier, the contingency reserve, which is the largest, highest unit. The third one is the dispatchable reserve, which is the second largest unit in the grid. And if the available generating capacity meets the demand and the tree reserve, which is the tree reserve, we are in the normal state. And then if the available, once the contingency reserve is less than the largest unit in the grid, then the NGCP will issue the yellow alert notice. And then if the contingency reserve is 0, and then there will be possibility of manual load dropping or rotating brownouts as we reach, our NGCP will issue the red alert state. Okay, so this is it, the alert notices. And so the next slide shows here that since last year, the DOE actually has been preparing for the 2024 summer outlook, considering the El Nino phenomenon pronouncement by PAGASA. We have various scenarios, but for this afternoon, we will focus on 2. One is the scenario wherein the hydroelectric power plants will be reduced by 70%. While the second one is when hydro will be zero capacity for the second quarter of this year, which is from this April up to June. And then on top of this, outages, on top of this, there are similar assumptions for the 2 scenarios, which is the power out grid and operating maintenance program. And then the forced outages, which range from 650 to 927 megawatts, which is the average for the last 4 years for the same week. And then we have the committed projects to come online on the dates they are committed for the same period. And then we have also the HBDC, or the submarine interconnection of Luzon to Visayas, and then Mindanao to the Visayas also. And then if all the assumptions in scenario 1 will be met, then there are no alert notices as shown here in the summary. But if the scenario 2 will happen, then there's a possibility of 4 red alert notices and 2 yellow alert notices. Please be informed that alert notices do not necessarily mean there will be power interruptions, but it's a warning of possibility. So the contingency measures should be in place. So the succeeding 2 slides will show the 2 scenarios in chart form. Okay, so this one, the first slide is on the scenario 1, wherein in terms of available reserve capacity, meaning the green bars has been met by the supply, and then the horizontal lines represent the different reserve requirement. Thus, if the green bar exceeds the black line, then there is enough capacity to meet all reserve requirement. However, if they fall below the yellow line, then NGCP will issue a yellow alert notice of the possibility of the rotating power interruptions. And if below the red line, then there will be notice of red alert and the power interruptions will likely to happen. If the assumptions are met, then this scenario will result in no potential yellow or red alerts. By the way, the boxes on top of the with arrows pointing to a particular week are the power generation projects that are expected to be in commercial operation at that period. And then the green boxes are renewable energy. Black boxes are coal-fired power plants. Yellow boxes are natural gas. And the peach box is oil-based power plant. As of last week, which covers April 13 to 19, the hydro capacity reduction in Luzon grid is already at 67%, which is a little less than the 70% assumption. While the demand reached the highest demand to date last April 17, but it was again surpassed yesterday, April 23. It already reached about 13,600 megawatts, which is about 300 megawatts or even lower than the projected peak, which is expected mid of May this year. Next slide. For this second scenario, considering that we assume no hydro capacity, as mentioned, we have alert notices. We already had several red alert in the Luzon in the past week due to generation deficiency and high demand. But then this is because the actual forced outage that happened last week was already about 2,261 megawatt, which is way higher than the 771 assumed forced outage for the same week. And then in the earlier weeks, there were no alert notices because the demand during those weeks are not as high as we have forecasted for the same period. Okay, so we go now to the contingency measures to address the short-term power situation. So we have anticipated the challenge as mentioned during this El Nino year. So following are some of the major actions being undertaken to achieve a positive power outlook for 2024. First is coordination with concerned government agencies and private entities to facilitate approvals and permits to ensure timely completion of power generation and transmission projects. The DO issued also on April 4, 2024, an advisory to remind all electricity industry participants of their responsibilities as mandated in the DOE policies and ERC regulations, highlighting the critical El Nino scenario. On the demand side, which include both the small and big users of electricity, we encourage participation in the demand side management or DSM programs, and the major ones are the following. First is the Interruptible Load Program or ILP. This is intended for large users like industries and commercial establishments, and they can participate in the program by deloading or using their gensets to ease the high demand in the grid. As you may be aware, NGCP issued alert notices on Tuesday last week, April 16, due to generation deficiency during the peak hours of the day as the demand increased with a high index, and the power plants went on forced outage as some of their parts are likewise affected by the very hot temperature. Okay, and the ILP was very instrumental. We thank Meralco team for that. And of course, our participants to avert prolonged rotating brownouts, even with the alert notices until Friday of last week. So, April 16 lang po tayo nagkaroon ng tawag dito, power interruption for about 1 hour. But the rest of the week, wala pong manual load dropping or power interruptions. And then there's the peak of peak program, which was shown in the video earlier. In basic economics and in the market, we know that when the demand for any commodity is high, then the prices also go up. It is the same in the electricity prices. Thus, this peak of peak program provides option for eligible businesses like you to register and avail of the lower rate during off-peak period. And this can be done to have some of your activities done during peak period shift to off-peak period. And this will be beneficial for you to pay lower rate and for the power system to ease the demand during peak period. Another one is net metering, electricity end user with renewable energy facility like solar with an installed capacity of not more than 100 kilowatt can free up the demand from the power system, and any excess electricity not used at home can be fed to the grid for use of others. And net metering credits are applied to your bill. And then finally, for the electricity and then the peak and off-peak program on net metering will be further discussed as in the next presentation of Meralco. Finally, all electricity end users, which include all of us, the DOE is reminding everyone to conserve electricity by being mindful of unplugging our electricity appliances and turn off the lights when not in use. The DOE and Meralco are promoting energy conservation tips through the different platforms to institutionalize energy conservation as a way of life. So we have presented the long-term and short-term outlook towards attaining clean and sustainable energy future, as well as the realities and challenges of the present times and the practical options we are undertaking and promoting together with electric power industry participants like Meralco. So we call for your support and cooperation for the country's objective of having continuous power supply by participating in the demand-side management program like POP and then net metering. So we can all be part of the solution to the power supply challenges. Maraming salamat po and God bless.
Thank you once again, Director Ice, and I hope everybody learned a lot from what Director Ice said. Of course, how power is managed here in the Philippines. I hope that cleared up what the yellow alert is, what the red alert is for you guys, and I hope you guys learned more about the programs that we're doing so that we won't have any power interruptions. Also, if you have any comments or questions on our presentations, please go ahead and type them in the Q&A tab. We will address them during our panel discussion later on in the program. Meanwhile, as I said earlier, it's time to play a quick trivia challenge. So we'll be asking a question based on Director Ice's presentation. So just type in your answer in the chat box. Whoever sends in the correct answer first or ahead of everybody will win a special prize. So listen up. Here is our first trivia question. Here we go. There are 3 hours in a day when electricity consumption is at its peak. Name one. Oh, I see. Some people are really fast. There you go. Go ahead, type your answers. Our correct answers for our first trivia question is, you have 3 choices. Morning peak at 11 a.m., afternoon peak, 2 p.m., and evening peak at 7 p.m. So guys, the next time you check the time, it's 11, 2, or 7 p.m., you'll be conscious about your electricity consumption, knowing that those are our peak hours. You know, I actually, when Director Ice was talking about the peak hours, I was like, oh, we're at the peak hour right now because it's 2. So guys, next time, you know when to conserve energy, the times that you have to. So the winner for this round will be announced at the end of the program. So let's move on for our next presentation. Our speaker will help us understand the components of our Meralco bill. So how to read our Meralco bill. This is super interesting, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome our biz partner manager from Meralco, Engineer Gian Zapata.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Andre. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are honored to impart with you our insightful topics this afternoon. Today, allow me to share with you basic information on the power supply chain and the Meralco bill for business customers. Now that we got that covered, in the next few minutes, we will talk about the power supply chain and the different sections of the Meralco bill. Let's begin with who are the stakeholders of the power supply chain and what they do. There are 4 major sectors in the power supply chain. First, we have generation companies. These are the power plants that produce and supply electricity through contracts with the distribution utility company like Meralco, or for contestable customers through WESM. Once electricity is generated, high voltage power is transferred from the generation companies to substations of different utilities or DUs. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, is the transmission company in the country. From here, distribution utilities deliver the electricity from the transmission facility to its customers. Meralco and other cooperatives found in the different provinces of the country are considered DUs. And lastly, customers like you purchase electricity from DUs. Now that we understand the power supply chain, we can go over the different components of the electric bill. While there are many sectors in the power industry, they don't collect bills from you separately. It is the job of the distribution company like Meralco to collect all these charges from you. But note that not everything goes to Meralco. Out of the total 100% of the bill, almost 66% goes to the generation companies, 6% for transmission, 14% for taxes and other charges, and only 14% goes to Meralco. Let us take a closer look at the sections of your electric bill. Let us zoom further to understand each section of the bill. First and foremost, you cannot miss the blue box in the upper right-hand corner of the bill. This includes the customer account number, or the CAN, the bill amount, and due date. On the left portion of the bill, you will see the bill summary, which contains rate classification, bill demand, meter readings, and the actual consumption for the month. Now, if you notice, I mentioned bill demand. This is being charged to BIZ customers only. For microBIZ customers, they are only being billed for the actual consumption. So for this section, microBIZ customers won't see line items for bill demand and load factor. Now you might be wondering, what are the different rate classifications? This includes the following. Residential services are basically households, while general services A are commercial establishments with less than 5 kilowatts contracted capacity. General services B, on the other hand, are commercial and industrial electric services with demand between 5 to 39 kilowatts contracted capacity. While if your customer type is general power, this would mean that you are a commercial or industrial electric service with 40 kilowatts and up contracted capacity. Next, we have the kilowatt hour rate. This rate refers to the effective cost per kilowatt hour within the month. This is computed as total bill amount divided by the actual consumption. For BIZ customers, this rate is affected by generation charge, energy demand, load and power factor, which we will go through one by one in the next succeeding slides. While for microBIZ customers, the increase or decrease in rate is affected by generation charge adjustments only. Below the per kilowatt hour rate is the load factor. This measures how you've maximized the load for the month. The higher the load factor, the better. If your actual peak demand reaches your guaranteed minimum billing demand, it means that you've maximized the allotted power for your facility. In this section of the bill, we will also see the bill date, or when your bill was generated, bill demand in kilowatts. Again, this is only applicable for BIZ customers and shows either the minimum or the actual demand in kilowatts, whichever is higher. The current and previous reading is also reflected in this section of the bill. And finally, your actual consumption in kilowatt hour, which shows the total electricity consumption registered in your meter for the current bill period. The next section for discussion is the monthly consumption bar graph. This bar graph shows up to 24 months of consumption data, comparing it with previous year's usage. This will help you identify how different you consume energy by month. The next portion tries to explain your consumption even further. This presentment is for BIZ customers only. Allow me to discuss the portion for microBIZ in the next slide. The first item compares your consumption versus this month and the previous billing period. We can see from the example that the business consumed 5% more than what was consumed in the last billing period. Next, we will compare your actual demand versus your minimum billing demand. Let's define what these are first. Demand pertains to the power or electricity that you need to start motors of different equipment, while the minimum billing demand is the electrical load requirement specified within your contract and is billed to you every month regardless of how much power you've used. The minimum billing demand is like an internet data plan. Even if you don't use up all the data allocated for your plan, you still pay for the minimum monthly service fee. Now, knowing all of this, we go back to what you see in your monthly bill. As mentioned, your actual demand is compared to your minimum billing demand. If your demand is consistently below minimum, you are not maximizing the facilities installed for your business. If the actual demand consistently exceeds the minimum, overloading may be happening or you may experience electrical facility problems. Well, in both cases, we can use this to assess if you need to update your contracted capacity. And lastly, we see your power factor. The power factor measures how efficient you are in using your electricity. If this is closer to 100%, the more efficient your machines and operations are. Para naman sa ating microbiz customers, what you'll be seeing here is a simpler data. This is a sample bill for microbiz. First, makikita nyo ang comparison ng current bill versus the previous billing period, as well as the comparison with the same period last year. For this example, microbiz customer has consumed 8% higher versus previous month and 35% higher than the same period last month. Microbiz customers will also be shown with their typical consumption. So with this, malalaman nila kung ano yung average monthly consumption for the past 12 months and the average daily consumption and average daily cost for the billing period. Well, on this section of the bill, all Meralco customers will see how their consumption impacts the environment. The registered power usage is translated to the equivalent greenhouse gas emissions caused by your energy consumption, and the total number of mature trees needed to offset the impact of these greenhouse gas emissions. Moving further at the bottom part of the bill, you can simply scan the QR code or barcode for ease of payment via authorized payment channels. For BIS customers, included here is a reminder to submit the BIR Form 2307 and or the BIR Form 2306 for CWT and or FWV deduction. And since tapos na tayo sa sections on the first page of the bill, let us proceed to the back page of the bill. The upper left section shows the detailed record of your last 6 payment transactions, and also any unpaid bills will be seen below it. And for the last section of the bill, you will see how your bill was computed. Now, for BIS customers, since you are billed for your consumption and demand, you will see this bar graph that shows how your consumption, demand, and other charges contribute to the total bill. And tying everything together, since we started this presentation talking about the different sectors of the power supply chain and how only 14% of your monthly bill goes to Meralco, let's discuss the different charges that contribute to your bill. First is the generation charge, which is paid to generation companies or to SM, based on your kilowatt-hour consumption. Second is transmission charge, which is the cost of delivering electricity from generation companies to a substation of Meralco. The transmission charge is paid to NGCP, which is the sole transmission service provider of the country. Third, we have the distribution charge, which goes to Meralco. This is the cost for the development, construction, and maintenance of our distribution facilities. For BIS customers, their distribution charge also includes the demand charge, which is based on the actual kilowatt demand, or the guaranteed minimum billing demand, whichever is higher, and the energy charge, which is based from the kilowatt hour consumption. All Meralco customers will be charged a metering charge. This is the cost of reading, operating, and maintaining the power metering facility. Next is the supply charge. This is the cost of rendering service to customers such as billing, collection, customer assistance, and other associated services. And again, specific to BEES, we also have the power factor adjustment. As what mentioned, it was mentioned that the higher your power factor is, the more efficient your operations is. If your power factor is higher than 85%, you get a discount every point higher than 85%. However, if your power factor is lower than 85%, you will get a surcharge every point away from 85%. So bottom line, it's on the efficiency of the operations. And lastly, for all customers, the last part of the computation includes taxes and other universal charges that go to the government and other entities. And with that, this is where we end our presentation. I hope this clarifies how you're billed and what is presented in your monthly bill. This ends my presentation, and we hope that through this webinar, we were able to enlighten you on a better understanding of your Meralco bill. Once again, thank you and a pleasant afternoon to everyone.
Thank you very much, Engineer Gian Zapata. So I hope you guys understood or now understand how to read your Meralco bill. I learned a lot. I just got my bill like a couple of days ago. And now I actually want to take a look at how I use my energy per month. So guys, I hope you guys also learned how to read your Meralco bill right now. If you have any questions for Mr. Zapata, please send them in through our Q&A tab, and we will be answering them later on during our Q&A. In the meantime, guys, are you ready? I hope you guys are listening. Here's another trivia challenge lifted from the presentation of Mr. Zapata. Again, be ready to type in your answer in the chat box. Here's our trivia question number 2. What percentage of your bill goes to Meralco? Wow, you guys are so fast. Go ahead, type in your answer now. Person to send the correct answer wins a prize. And our correct answer, as you can see from the chat box, is... Our answer is 14%. Yes, 14%. So a lot of you got it correct. So whenever you see your Meralco bill, you'll be reminded that only 14% goes to Meralco and the majority goes to the generation companies. So once again, guys, thank you for your participation. We announce the winners by the end of the program. So guys, I know you guys want to know more. 2 speakers down. They were super informative. I hope you guys are learning a lot in our afternoon session today. So coming up next, our next speaker will be sharing with us helpful energy management tips and solutions. So you guys better listen to this one. This is super interesting. For this presentation, please give it up for our Power Lab manager from Meralco, Engineer Joel Sagud.
Thank you, Andre, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I will be sharing with you tips on how to manage your energy usage on your businesses, especially this summer season. With the increase in electricity consumption this summer, it is important that we practice energy management. Managing energy consumption of your business can be easy if you understand how it's being done. To help you with this, you can apply energy management pyramid. Today, we will be going through the 5 levels of the energy management pyramid, which will hopefully guide you in managing the energy consumption of your business. Okay, let's begin with energy management, energy assessment. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. So this level provides you an opportunity to evaluate how business use energy before identifying and implementing measures. It is recommended to conduct an energy audit to help you understand your situation more completely and set priorities. So when you do energy assessment, you may refer the PDCA cycle method, which stands for plan, do, check, and act. It is a continuous problem solving and improvement process to help you achieve your energy management goals and objectives. First is plan. You need to understand the energy consumption of your business, set targets, and draft an action plan. The second step is do it by implementing your plan, and you need to cascade this plan to the rest of your organization and to ensure everyone is aligned. Next is you need to check and review your performance. Was my consumption reduced? Did I meet my targets? Or did I meet my objectives? Revise your plan as needed, and you may also conduct energy audits to see what needs to be changed. And lastly, you need to act on corrective or improvement plans based on your review. Revisit your priorities to ensure that these contribute significantly to reach your goals. Okay, after completing the energy assessment, we go to the next level of the pyramid, which is the energy conservation. Offering the best return on investment, energy conservation largely entails behavioral and operational practices at no or minimal cost. This usually involves controlling the consumption of your appliances and equipment. We will give you some tips related to this. First, you may set up a schedule of turning off appliances and equipment. You can unplug water dispensers after office hours. Meanwhile, there is no need to turn air conditioning units off if you will be only leaving for an hour. During lunch break example, doing so will increase your consumption by up to 35%. It can be switched off before end of work operations so you can utilize the remaining cold air. Doing this, it can save you up to 6% per day. Okay, so to optimize cooling capacity, air conditioning units should be installed in the middle of the room's length. The ideal installation height from the floor is differ per aircon type. So this should be considered as well. If you have refrigerators in the office, shifting the thermostat from high to mid setting will give you up to 49% savings. You should also avoid overloading your refrigerator to ensure that cold air circulates properly inside the ref, which helps it maintain its cold temperature. Avoid air leaks as well by making sure that the refrigerator door is always closed and regularly inspect for cracked doors or cracked door seals. Air leaks will allow warm air to enter the ref, leading to a higher energy consumption. For appliances and equipment such as ACUs, CCTVs, UPS, it is better to follow a proper preventive maintenance schedule. By following this practice, you not only extend the lifespan of the appliances and equipment, but also enhances their safety and convenience. Additionally, it reduces the likelihood of expensive emergency repairs. If energy conservation measures are not enough to meet your goals, you can move up to the third level, which is energy efficiency. This level will require you to invest on new or innovative technologies to reduce your energy usage. So let's start by defining energy efficiency. More likely, energy efficiency is associated with cost savings, but it's not always the case. Energy efficiency is defined by the Department of Energy is basically less energy consumption yielding the same or better results. Here are some examples of energy efficiency for areas not frequently used, such as comfort rooms, hallways, and stairways, you can install motion sensor and dimmer on your lighting to reduce your consumption. They automatically turn your lights on and off when they detect movement. For cooking, you can get savings by using induction cookers. These are also safer because there are no potential gas leaks and you can control the temperature while cooking. For DC fans are more energy efficient than AC fans. DC fans are also quieter, have a longer lifespan, and have more speed options compared to AC fans. Okay, so part of Filipino culture is to keep using our appliances as long as they are still working. But we have to understand that older units are less efficient and more expensive to maintain. So we have to assess if our older units need to be replaced, especially nowadays when more energy efficient new technology appliances are available in the market. Some of these technologies include inverter technology and smart features that allows us to control our appliances through apps on our phones. So we have different types of cooling system to choose from depending on the building size. So for residential and small businesses, you can use single split type ACUs. For bigger residential buildings with multiple rooms and commercial buildings like schools, restaurants, and KTVs, you can have installed a multi-head split type system. And lastly, for large and multi-level buildings, you can consider investing in energy or heat recovery ventilators, which are designed to recycle and reuse up to 80% of the heating and cooling energy contained in the exhaust air. For small-scale use of ACUs, we have window type and split type ACUs. Each has its pros and cons. So for the window type, ACUs are cheaper and easier to install and maintain, but it is designed for smaller areas and you need a hole in the wall for this aircon type. Meanwhile, for the single split type ACUs are more sleek. Although you won't need a hole in the wall for the split type ACU, you need to allot space for its outdoor unit. You can also consider shifting to inverter technology to reduce consumption. This technology is also available on chest freezers used in supermarkets and restaurants for storage of meat products, and chillers used for chilling beverages in supermarkets and convenience stores. Shifting to inverter chillers will make you save up to 28%, while inverter chest freezer will give you up to 63%. For chest freezers, hard top types are more energy efficient than glass top types, but you also need to consider the purpose of your freezers to know what type to use. Hardtop freezers are ideal for storage, while glass top chest freezers are ideal for display as for the customers. To not need to repeatedly open the cover to see the product inside, which can lead to a higher energy consumption. Another thing to consider is the use of variable frequency drive or the VFD for your motors and pumps. VFD saves energy consumption by reducing power when not required and regulating the motor speed. It has an advanced overload protection and that makes motor starting currents low and reduces thermal and mechanical stresses on motors and belts during starts, which lessens wear and tear of the motor. For big businesses, you can still install BMS or the building management system to manage and monitor a facility's mechanical and electrical and electromechanical services also, such as electricity, lighting, pumping stations, elevators, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning as well as physical access control. This is a big help in planning your energy conservation practices because you will know how you consume electricity. Through this, you can also set realistic targets in reducing your consumption. Continuing with the energy management pyramid, the fourth level deals with energy programs to further reduce energy costs. Our reliable and future-ready energy solutions can help support your requirements, whether that savings on cost or increasing productivity, or both at the same time. For service for services and solutions that can help your businesses maximize efficiency, book a free power consult with us and let us talk to you for your energy needs. For your safety, we will ensure that your power capacity matches your evolving business requirements with Power Match. Another solution that may help your business is Peak of Peak, or the POP, as mentioned by Director Ice earlier. POP is for business that can shift a large part of their consumption to off-peak hours and Sundays, like those with 24/7 operations or multiple shifts. Given the average difference in generation rates of around 48% from off-peak to peak, we have calculated that customers who can shift a minimum of 46% of their load to off-peak hours can generate up to 26% savings. The more you can shift, the bigger your savings. Lastly, at the topmost of the energy management pyramid is the use of alternative sources of energy, particularly renewable energy, or what we call RE. RE is the energy efficient because RE is very energy efficient because it uses natural resources such as sunlight, wind, water, and geothermal heat to generate electricity without relying on fossil fuels, and such do not produce harmful emissions. Solar power is one of the most common renewable energy sources because it relies on sun's energy, which is basically present everywhere in the world. Through PV, or the photovoltaic technology, sunlight is converted to electricity through the use of solar panels. As long as the sun is shining, solar energy will be available for use. To be able to generate savings, it is better to adhere to the following tips. Know your power needs by listing the appliances that will be running during daytime and calculating their total wattage. Ask your contractor to provide you the solar panel that will cover the power requirements of these appliances. Before installing your solar panels, check also if there is a shadow coming from nearby buildings or trees. Ensure also that the roof is facing south or southwest and the panel tilt is around 15 degrees to maximize your solar investment. Ideally, we recommend that our customers engage with Meralco even before contracting with a solar provider so that you can provide technical advice. To optimize your solar investment, you need to sign up to Meralco's Renewable Energy Solutions. Also, for customers with our installations below 100 kilowatt peak, we have the net metering program where you can get the bills, credits for the excess electricity exported to the Meralco grid. Our zero export solution, on the other hand, is for our customers who have RE systems that are below their contracted capacity with Meralco and who set it up purely for their own use. By signing up to net metering or zero export solutions, you also get assurance that our installation is compatible with the Meralco grid. This also gives you the assurance of your energy export is properly measured and monitored for the compensation that we will credit to your bill. We are also able to check that your RE investment is safe, stable, and best of all, sustainable. And that covers all the levels of energy management pyramid. Before I end, I hope I was able to educate everyone on how to become energy efficient. I leave with 5 key takeaways to attain overall energy efficiency. First is energy is a controllable and measurable resource. Second, anything you can measure, you can manage. Third, we are energy efficient if we could do more with less. Fourth, some energy efficiency measures do not require cost. And lastly, energy efficiency should be a way of life. To know more, our biz customers may email us at biz@meralco.com.ph or call our hotline at 16210. For our microbiz customers, please contact us via email at customercare@meralco.com.ph or call our hotline at 16211. And for more energy management tips, visit our website at mer.ph/bizpowerideas. On that note, I hope these energy management practices power a brighter tomorrow for your businesses. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joel Sagot, and I hope you guys learned a lot on how to manage your energy usage, both not just for your businesses, especially for your household as well. I learned a lot, the different appliances that you use, solar energy. So I hope you guys also learned so much from that one from Mr. Joel Sagot. So if you have more questions for our speakers, please send them through the Q&A tab below, and we'll answer them later on during the panel discussion. Meanwhile, guys, get ready once again. Put your hands on your keyboards. Here's our trivia question lifted from Mr. Sagut's presentation. Get ready to type in your answer in the chat box. Here we go. Our question is, of the tips discussed by Engineer Joel, which tip will you immediately apply to your business or implement after the webinar? So go ahead, type in your answer now. First to give an answer wins a prize. I see energy management, PDCA, POP, and our answer is, these are the top answers for this one. The first one actually will get a prize for this one, and we'll announce it at the end of our program. All right. So there you go. Based on the top responses, you guys will know who the winner is later on. So once again, thank you for your participation. We'll announce the winner later on. So our last speaker for today will be sharing with us helpful energy efficiency measures. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the account executive from MServe, Engineer Cholo Pabilona.
Thank you for the introduction, Sir Andre. So good afternoon again to our participants. And this afternoon, I'm going to share with you a brief introduction about our company and the energy efficiency solutions we offer that can help you in your businesses. So to start, MServe is a wholly owned subsidiary of Meralco that caters our clients' electromechanical requirement. We are also a PCAB licensed, AAA licensed contractor, and we do turnkey projects for substation, powerhouse, and HVAC system. We're also a DOE accredited ESCO, and we can help our customer when it comes to energy efficiency. Our services is divided into 5 major categories. First is energy, which includes the design and build of electrical and mechanical system. We also have indoor air quality, which includes the installation of filters and other air quality solutions. We also have safety and auxiliaries, operation and maintenance for client-owned facilities, and lastly, smart city and automation. Being an ESCO, we help our customer achieve their sustainability goals, and we also assist them in compliance with the RA 11285 or the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Law, especially when it comes to energy audit. And of course, being an ESCO, we also propose our customer with the recommended solution in order to further improve their overall cost efficiency. So the question is how to make your system energy efficient. At MServe, we follow this project life cycle that starts with the audit and advisory in order to establish the benchmark measurement of your facility. This will also help us in identifying the current efficiency of your equipment and your existing system. Once that we've identified the key components to improve your system, we will now move forward with the design and build of the recommended optimization. To ensure the effectivity of the installed solution, we can then install a centralized monitoring system, and this platform will help you visualize critical data for energy efficiency initiative. Proper operation and maintenance is also needed to sustain a reliable and efficient system. These proposed projects can also be done not just with the CapEx model, but we can also explore a financing scheme for this recommended system. So as we all know, chiller and lighting system compose most of our energy consumption. And improving these two critical systems can further bring significant increase in your overall energy efficiency. So for a centralized system that uses chilled water, we can offer oil-free magnetic chillers that is around 20 to 50% more efficient than the conventional ones and have lower maintenance costs. These chillers also are composed of multiple compressors that provides flexibility and maintenance and reliability. We can also install variable frequency drives in order to achieve savings in our pumps and motors. It also helps in reducing peak energy demand, as discussed earlier with the previous presenter. And then we also have district cooling system, where a central chiller plant can supply multiple buildings in a piping network. So if you're in a single perimeter, you can use this district cooling in order to have higher energy efficiency. And then, as we all know, we have the inverter system for the split type and window type system. Using this air conditioning system can provide around 30 to 50% reduction compared to the conventional air conditioning unit. EMSERV can also provide solar-assisted air conditioning system that works with anything that is air-cooled. So this can be as small as split type aircon and up to big as with the chillers. This can also work in parallel with the VFD, and it utilizes solar energy to assist the compressor and decrease the required power consumption. And this combination will allow the compressor to unload the workload of the compressor and achieve up to 40% higher efficiency than the conventional split type units. Next, we have the LED technology or the lighting system. So just by converting from conventional to LED lights, you can already save more than 50% of the energy consumption. And this application is not only limited to interior lighting, but also with exterior such as facade, perimeter, and even street lighting. EMSERV already worked with different LGU and even with the Meralco team in the effort to not just convert to LED street lights, but to also use smart lighting platform. This platform utilizes sensors, timers, and dimmers in order to further improve your operational efficiency through the use of automation. This system can also be accessed with any gadget that have browser-like cell phones, tablets, and even laptops. For the next system, we have the energy management system. So EMSERV created EMSERV E360, which is a visualization platform that aims to help our customer when it comes to data management. So this system can help you keep track of the current consumption of your facilities in order to help you with the reporting, not just for the internal reporting, but also with the EE and SILO reporting that you need to submit annually. So this platform also features data analytic dashboard that can be customized depending on your requirement or in the required sensors and meters to be deployed in your facility. It also features remote monitoring. So if you're currently managing multiple facilities, even nationwide, you can deploy these sensors and meters across the country, and you have a single dashboard to have a continuous analysis of your data consumption. And then you could also have multi-tenancy, meaning you can create multiple accounts that have different access. So you can have your engineering team have different access for the meters and even controls. And then you could have your finance team to keep track of the energy consumption in each facility compared to the electrical bill. And it also features alert notification. So you can keep track of your performance. If you want, you can set a parameter where if you achieve this consumption, it will already notify your team. Maybe there's a need for maintenance activity or even replacement of your existing unit to have a continuous good energy efficiency of your system. This is a sample of the energy dashboard. So you have a summary page where you can see all of the connected meters or sensors and even facilities in this dashboard. And you can see the performance of each site. So you can easily compare which site is performing better when it comes to energy efficiency. And you can even keep track when it comes to real time. You can adjust it for hourly, monthly, and even yearly consumption. And you can preset the date if you want to backtrack the actual consumption for that day, or if you have an incident with that day, you can easily keep track of your consumption. This will eliminate the use of log sheets for chillers or even other parameters that is critical to your daily operation. This feature also have the energy efficiency or the power quality monitoring. So as specified earlier, keeping track of your power factor for those who are in, for the industrial and commercial application. If you have power factor below 85%, you will be penalized in your bill. And this platform can help you monitor your power factor and to keep track kung nagkaroon kayo ng improvement. So having this system will be very efficient in your daily operation, and you can also even keep track other PQ problems such as fluctuations. If you have voltage drops, you can also check with this technology. So you can also integrate indoor air quality dashboard in this system where you can keep track of critical parameters such as temperature and humidity. And then you could also check for air pollutants such as VOC level and carbon dioxide, and even particulate matters. So same with the electrical system, you can check the frequency, change the frequency, and set the exact date for this measurement. So how does the EE360 work? Basically, we deploy different types of sensors and meters to your system, depending on the type of application. And then these devices can be connected into a gateway that will send the data to the cloud, and where it will be uploaded to our platform. So this platform can work with any other brands. If you have existing meters or softwares, we can definitely integrate it into the system. And so you can have a single dashboard to monitor everything. So the key benefits of the system is, of course, simplify the data collection of your facility, have a smarter and data-driven decision-making. Of course, easier corporate reporting. And as I mentioned earlier, this can be a huge help in compliance with the EE&C law, given that you need to submit your energy utilization every April 15th of the year. And then this could also provide you with reduction in downtime, given that you already have a trend of the actual system. And of course, the aim of this software is to help you identify key areas where you can further improve your overhead expenses. So for the last part of the solution, we have the electrical solution. So as I mentioned earlier, we can do the design and build of the electrical system, both from low voltage, medium, and even high voltage systems. So this includes supply and installation of transformers, switch gears, cable trays, and even bus ducts. And then we also provide managed services to our customer. We have preventive maintenance works, annual shutdown activities, and even emergency works. And then for the power correction devices, we can, aside from identifying if you are below the power factor requirement of Meralco, which is 85%, we can even help you prepare the proper solution in order to improve this and change the penalties into savings or additional incentive in your billing. And we can also provide you assistance when it comes to UPS, harmonic filters, and sag correctors. And this is already my last slide. And at EMSER, we are looking forward to help you future-proof your business with energy efficiency system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Cholo Fabilona. And I hope you guys learned about key energy efficient solutions or efficiency solutions that you can apply for your businesses. And speaking of energy efficiency solutions, here now is our fourth and last trivia question based on Mr. Cholo's presentation. Let's take a look at it. Give one energy efficiency solution that EMSERV offers. Just one. Go ahead and type in your answer right now. First one to send the correct answer wins a prize. Let's take a look at our correct answers. You have some choices here. Our choices are the HVAC system optimization, lighting optimization, energy management system, or electrical solutions. All right, so I think a couple of you guys got it correctly. We'll be announcing our winners later on at the end of the program. But thank you so much for your active participation. Please stay tuned as our trivia winners will be announced before the end of the program. And with that, I believe our attendees, you guys have already posted some comments and questions directed to our speakers. this brings us now to our panel discussion. So let's call back our speakers. Director Ice Exconde, Engineer Gian Zapata, Engineer Joel Sagod, and Engineer Joel Babilona. All right, so I have a couple of questions here for you. Let's start. Are you guys ready? Yes? Okay, speakers are ready. First one, this is for Engineer Gian. What is the system loss charge in my bill, and how is this computed and determined?
All right. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Andre, for the question from our audience. So, well, first and foremost, let us define what is system loss. So, system loss refers to the cost recovery of power that is lost due to technical and non-technical system losses. So, the maximum level of losses that may be recovered by a private distribution utility like Meralco was set at 9.5%, then was further reduced to 8.5% as provided under an ERC resolution. And then now, how is system loss being computed? System loss is being charged on a per kilowatt hour, again, on a per kilowatt hour consumption. So the rate changes every month based on the movement in generation and transmission costs and the 12-month moving average system loss in accordance with an ERC resolution as well. So I hope we were able to address and enlighten our audience further on what system loss is. Thank you again and good afternoon.
All right, thank you, Engineer Gian. Our next question is for Engineer Cholo. The question is MServe EE360 subscription based? That's the question.
Yes, sir, Andre. Actually, the EE360 is a subscription-based software. So if you're interested to further discuss the solution, we can set a meeting. You can course it through our Meralco-based partner. Basically, the subscription will be based on the number of points that you want to monitor. And we will prepare a cost proposal for that one once that we've identified this system. Thank you.
All right, I hope that answered your question. Thank you, Engineer Cholo. Our third question is for Director Ice. Director Ice, the question is, what is the impact of these red and yellow alerts to our monthly electricity bill?
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Andre, for the question. And I think this is really the concern right now of our consumers. Well, basically, what we have done for at least for the past 2 weeks is to make sure that there will be minimal or no power interruptions. And definitely with all these efforts, there's a corresponding cost. Right now, we still have to see based on the bill from the transmission, from the generation, especially if it's sourced from the WESM, because if it's sourced from your power supply contracts, like the Meralco's contracts with power suppliers, then it will not be affected. But if it will be sourced, the additional requirement is sourced from the WESM, then definitely it will incur additional costs. So we have yet to see, but having energy has a cost, reliability has a cost. So yeah, I think all of us will have to pay a little just to make sure that we will have no power interruptions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Director Ice, for answering that question. So I hope that clarifies any of those questions regarding your monthly bill with our yellow and red alerts. Next one, this is for Engineer Joel. So the question is, we appreciate the many tips you shared, but if I'm to prioritize one tip, which one should I implement first? Which would have the biggest impact to my monthly consumption?
Thank you for the question, Andre. As I mentioned in my earlier slide, the top contributor of your consumption, especially during summer, are the cooling appliances. So specifically are the air cons and the refrigerators. So my advice is to look onto this, how can manage, as also I shared in my presentation earlier, how to manage your air conditioning units and also refrigerators.
All right, so I hope that answered that question. And last one. Okay, we have another question. This is for Engineer Gian. What is contracted capacity and GMBD?
Hi, good afternoon again. So, what is the difference between the contracted capacity and GMBD? So basically, the contracted capacity is being based on the electric load documents that are being submitted on the onset of every application for each service. So when we say electrical load documents, these are the signed and sealed electrical plans. So basically, the contracted capacity is usually being encountered on large services such as microbusinesses, SMEs. But just to let everyone know, even residential services have the contracted capacity. But when it comes to the GMBD, the residential services do not have this or the guaranteed minimum billing demand. So now, the contracted capacity is the electric load that you are contracting with Meralco to be supplied to your service, your electric service. So again, based ito or this comes from the electrical plan na sinasubmit on the onset of the application. So it is being computed from there. And then now, relating the guaranteed minimum billing demand or the GMBD with the contracted capacity. So yung GMBD is 70% of the contracted capacity or not less than 5 kilowatts for general service B and not less than 40 kilowatts for general power services. So the GMBD, again, as mentioned earlier in my presentation, it's comparable to a mobile plan. So whether you've used up the GMBD or not, that's the monthly minimum bill that you're going to pay. But on the other way around, if the actual demand consumption is higher than the GMBD, then the customer pays for the actual higher consumption. And then, well, again, these are the charges that are being used to maintain and operate the distribution facilities. And then as well as this has been also contracted already by Meralco with the generation companies so that any time of the day that you will be needing that large amount of power, well, it's readily available. So again, these are the two terms that you should look out for when applying for an electric service or when reviewing your electric service. So again, that's the contracted capacity and the GMBD.
All right, so I hope that answered the question. We still have more for our panelists for today. Up next, this is for Engineer Cholo. The question is, how can we increase power factor? That's a good one.
Yes, po. Thank you, Sir Andre, for the question. Basically, we have different ways to improve power factors, such as load balancing. But I think the most efficient or the best way to improve power factor is through the use of capacitor bank. So for the capacitor bank, we have different types. We have the passive correction and the active correction power capacitor bank. And this will depend on the requirement in your site. So if you have varying loads, better to use a active capacitor bank for varying loads. And then if you have a similar load all throughout the day, you can use the passive capacitor banks in your system. And best way to improve the power factor is really to have it properly sized, the capacitor bank, because if you missize the capacitor bank and it is a passive type, this capacitor bank can be a load in your system. Instead of helping you increase the power factor, it will also be a load, so it will consume higher electricity. So best way is to have your power quality engineers check your system and provide you with the proper size capacitor bank. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Engineer Cholo. As we move on to our next question, which actually is connected to that question for Engineer Cholo. This is once again for Engineer Gian. How is power factor computed?
So I guess our audience are really interested with our topics for this afternoon. So we appreciate those questions coming in. So again, it's related with the question to Cholo. So how is power factor computed? Well, it's sort of technical, but it's the efficiency between the real power and apparent power. So, well, let's go away with the jargon. So, bottom line, translating that technical term, power factor refers to the efficiency of the electrical system. So, well, the higher the power factor is, it means that the more efficient that this system is. So, well, when we think of power factor, we attribute it with the efficiency of the electrical system. So, kung gaano na-optimize yung kuryente na sinusupply doon sa service, sa electric service. So, back to you, Andre.
Alright, thank you, Engineer Gian. Sana nasagot yung tanong ng ating viewer. And right now, our next question, let's move on. This is for Director Ice. The question is there anything that we can do? Wait, let me go back to it. Okay. Is there anything that we can do as a business to help with the power supply situation? So I guess this is for like for MSMEs. How do they help with the power supply situation?
What was discussed, all the energy efficiency measures that were discussed and being offered by Meralco as solutions, these are your participation will definitely be a good help for us in addressing the power supply challenges we have right now with all these power plants having forced outages. And if you can review all the discussions that were made by Meralco on their solutions for these MSMEs, then definitely it will be a great help for us for the power system. Thank you.
All right. Thank you once again, Director Ice. Let's move on to our next question. Once again, for Engineer Gian. A lot of people want to ask you questions. How can we enroll to peak off-peak for an existing establishment? Or how do you enroll in the POP?
So, it's me again. For the POP or the peak off-peak program, well, this is a rate program of Meralco for customers that are operating majority on the off-peak hours. So, before we proceed on the how to enroll, in terms of benefits of enrolling to POP, shown din earlier before we start, we have one customer providing his sentiments on the benefits of the POP. So, of course, one is that on your side as customers of Meralco, nakakatipid kayo through the POP rate program when majority of your operations are during the off-peak hours. And then, of course, in terms of sustainability on how we can help the entire power sector of the country is that natutulungan din natin to lessen the consumptions during the peak hours. So, yung in terms of the power supply in the grid, natutulungan natin to be more stable with the POP. So now, how do we enroll with the peak off-peak rate program? So these are just simple requirements for an existing establishment to enroll. One would be the letter of intent for the application, and then identification documents, whether if the existing account is a corporation or an individual. So it goes with the application. And then next is that there's a one-time fee for the enrollment to peak off-peak. This is also to to cater the cost on replacing the electricity meter, because for peak off peak the meter that's being installed is a more advanced meter that has further capabilities to record consumption at certain points of the day, and then even time to record the consumption during peak hours and then off peak hours. Well, to know more on POP, you may also get in touch with your biz partner if you already know one, or through our email, that's biz@meralco.com.ph, or the business hotline 16210. And then for the non-biz services as well, you may reach us as well with the 16211 hotline. So thank you.
Thank you once again, Engineer Gian. And our next question, we still have a couple more. This is once again for Director Ice. I like this question. Tinatanong niya, it's great, it's good naman po na may monitoring power supply. But wala po ba plan na magkaroon ng ibang energy source gaya ng nuclear ang Meralco?
Yeah, actually, I think, as shown in my presentation earlier on the scenarios, clean energy scenario 1 and 2, there's already this explicit mention of nuclear power, unlike before. That's why the reference scenario did not mention any nuclear, because that's in the previous plan. But for this update that we had in the Philippine Energy Plan, we already mentioned nuclear. And as early as more than 5 years ago, we already had preparations for this, because among the options for power supply, nuclear is one of those which need long gestation of preparation.
So let's move on with our questions for our panelists. Our next question, once again, is for Engineer Gian. The question is, can you please explain the purpose of the multiplier in our building? Also, what is the multiplier for a business categorized under general power?
All right. Thank you again for that question. And then, yes, a lot of our customers have been curious on the multiplier they've been seeing at the back page of their bills. Well, they'll be asking, wait, why does some services have multiplier, then the others don't have those multipliers? So, well, the term multiplier that you can see at the back page of your bill. So this is the ratio of the customer's total energy consumption to the amount of energy flowing through the electric meter. So there's a limit to the power supply that the electric meters can safely measure. So for customers with higher requirements, special instrument transformers are being installed. So these are the current and potential transformers to convert energy flow to measurable levels. So thus the need for the multipliers to capture the actual energy that's being consumed. So one thing also is that, so the multipliers adds also to the purpose of safety. Well, again, para nga ma-measure ng electricity meter yung actual na kuryente na nagagamit. So for big commercial and industrial customers, so they can have a multiplier of 40, or others that's 800:5. So depending on the power requirement. So mas malaki yung power requirement that's being applied na kung anong nakalagay sa electrical plan, mas mataas din yung multiplier. So basically, this just translates to the actual energy na or actual consumption na sinupply to your service. So I hope somehow we are able to clarify on the inquiry on the meter multipliers that we see on the bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Engineer Gian. Let's move on with our next question. This one is for Director Ice. So the question is, will it give us cheaper electricity if the government builds renewable-based power plants, so we avoid purchasing also from WESM in normal demand?
Yeah. I wish to clarify with that question that under this power sector reform environment that we have, the government is not allowed to build new power plants, whatever kind of technology. So it's the same thing for renewable energy. So, but regards to if it will be cheaper to have electricity using renewable energy, it depends on which technology it will be replacing. Like for example, in the off-grid areas where most of the power plants are oil-based power plants, then the government is promoting hybridization, wherein the diesel power plants are being renewable energy together with oil-based power plants, because RE may not be able, especially the variable renewable energy, may not be able to provide a 24/7 service because of its limited availability. It's only during the day when there is solar, except there are energy storage system. So, but in the grid, basically, it will help also to have cheaper electricity, especially now that like solar, especially solar technology is already, the price of solar technology is already going down. But of course there are but for the wind power, we are pushing aggressively for offshore wind as shown in the scenarios that we have, because it will provide bigger capacities in one project. Like for example, the first one that we're looking is about 2,000 megawatts. So that will be a big contribution to be able to achieve the 35% target for 2030. I think that's all, Andre. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Director Ice. And next question. This is once again for Engineer Gian. What are the current effects if my current demand is above or way above my GMBD? Is there a chance that Meralco cannot supply the electricity that I need?
So, thank you for raising that question in terms of the actual consumption that's way above the GMBD. So, well, again, the GMBD is being based on the onset of the application, coming, as mentioned earlier, coming from the contracted capacity, how much power your specific service is requiring from Meralco. So, we can connect this with the safety measures in terms of providing the power supply. So, well, definitely, if your actual consumption is higher than the GMBD, there are chances that this may cause overloading of the facilities since the facilities installed for your service, it's just designed for the contracted capacity and the GMBD that was applied on the onset of the application. So now, with the changes in the power requirement of every service that has it, so you can reach us Meralco for us to conduct a power match wherein we check your existing consumption and then comparing it with the contracted capacity with the GMBD, then we recommend if you need to upgrade or to downgrade just to ensure that the facilities are safe and then to ensure as well the longevity and then the uninterrupted power supply. So once again, that's it, Andre. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Engineer Gian. And our last question, this one is for Engineer Joel. How true is it that you can save when using energy saving devices? Once plugged in, will this really help lessen energy consumption?
Thank you for the question, Andre. Actually, the energy saving device that you see sold in the social media and also in some supermarkets and hardwares are not actually saving. Actually, it consumes you more. So based on our study, it consumes about 32 pesos per device if you install it at your house. So as of now, we in Meralco Power Lab, we didn't see any devices that can save or the energy saving devices that can save your energy consumption. So the usual advice that we tell to our customers is to practice energy conservation and energy efficiency.
All right. Thank you, Engineer Joel. And that's it for our questions for today. So thank you to all our speakers for joining us. Thank you once again, Director Ice, Engineer Gian, Engineer Joel, Engineer Cholo, for answering all of our questions in our panel discussion. Let's call on our panelists to say their last few words before we end our session for today. Let's start with Director Ice.
Yes, thank you, Andre, and maraming salamat po sa lahat ng nag-participate this afternoon. We hope we were able to communicate with you the importance of your support to the plans and programs po of the Department of Energy and of course, Meralco's program to be able to provide you the best services sa kanilang franchise area. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Director Ice. And now let's move on to Engineer Gian. Engineer Gian, do you have any last words for our audience?
Yeah, thank you, Andre. So once again, to all our attendees for this afternoon's webinar, we hope that we were able to reach you further on through the insightful topics that we have right now. For today, we were specific on the bills, on the power outlook. Would like also to thank Director Irma for joining us, representing DOE. So, well, for my parting words to all our attendees this afternoon, yung Meralco po, we are your partners. So, for any concern with Meralco, how we can help you further with your business, so just let us know through our channels. We have our hotlines, that's 16210 for business and then 16211 for residential. And then specifically for the biz, we have the email biz@meralco.com.ph or you can freely reach us, your biz partners team. So once again, maraming salamat po at magandang hapon sa lahat.
Thank you, Engineer Gian. And now let's move on to Engineer Joel Sagod for his parting words.
Thank you, Andre. So thank you, everyone. So as I mentioned earlier in my last slide, so let's practice energy efficiency as our way of life. So doing this will help you to consume less, and also it will help you not only your consumption, but also it helps your community and the country as well. So with that, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Engineer Joel. And now, last but not the least, let's move on to Engineer Cholo.
Apologies for that one. Yeah, so I would just like to thank again everyone for attending this Power Up Forum, and I would like also to extend our gratitude to Meralco for hosting this event. And for any inquiries about the services that we showed earlier, you can reach out to your Meralco partners, and we are happy to set a meeting, online meeting or face-to-face meeting with your with the participants in order to further discuss your requirements. And thank you, and we are looking forward to work with you soon.
Thank you very much to Engineer Cholo. And guys, let's all give a virtual round of applause to all of our speakers for today. Thank you to Director Ice, Engineer Gian, Engineer Joel, and Engineer Cholo. Thank you for joining us for today. Thank everybody. Thank you to all of our speakers for joining us for today. And right now, thank you to everyone for being such a receptive and cooperative audience. I hope you have been enlightened by the distinguished panel of speakers we had this afternoon. With that, thank you for joining us today for this webinar. We hope to see you again in our next Power Up Live session. Once again, I'm Andre Ko. Have a pleasant day, everyone, and stay safe.